in brightest day, in blackest night. No evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light. Pretty cool, huh?
Hi, everybody. I'm Chad Bokelman,
I'm Mark Marble.
and this is the LanternCast.
Episode 181.
Our reviews of Green Lantern New Guardians 25 through 27. So we're keeping the review wagon. Here I go with transportation metaphors again.
Rolling. rolling.
Yeah, huzzah. So yeah. Anyways, we're keeping the reviews going here. We'll be covering the New Guardian stuff, and this time around, Mark is taking 25 and 27, and I'm taking 26. So there's really no need for further ado. Go ahead, Mark.
Alrighty then. Issue 25, Green Lantern New Guardians. The cover has Kyle Rayner falling and more like falling than floating, with the New Guardians falling and with him, with Kyle Rayner lost in space. So, again, written by Justin Jordan, Brad Walker, the artist, and Geraldo Borges is the penciler, at least for part of it, actually. Yeah, they pretty much, looks like they both split up penciler duties, actually, looking at it. And the inkers were split up, too, Drew Hennessy and Cam Smith. So the issue is pretty well split up with artists and inkers. So we begin on Zamaron, where Carol Ferris has returned, and the Zamaron Central Power Battery is glowing ever so nicely again. And Carol is delivering to the Zamarons pretty much what Hal Jordan's plan was about how he planned on policing the rings. And they're asking Carol, are we being threatened? And she points out, well, I don't think so. At least he's not a threat, not yet. Carol she's kind of lamenting the loss of everyone, including the Blues, but she's more lamenting the loss of Kyle in Lights Out. And she does mention that she does believe the power that they have is a gift, and it should be used probably a little better than they had been using it. A little more thought should be put into it. The Zamarons question whether she's unhappy with their command, or whether they're implying that, and she says no. It's just that I think that as Star Sapphires, we can do better. And we owe it to the people that gave their lives for us to still have this power. And while their conversation is going on, Carol gets a message, I'm assuming through her ring, and she goes, hold on, I'm getting a call. And the Zamarons are, needless to say, a little confused by that. And then she goes, sorry, gotta go. And she goes, I need to see about her. And then it's next page, it says jerk. And then she is there, confronted or face to face with Kyle, who now she has found out that seemingly the only human anywhere that knows that Kyle did not die at the end of Lights Out. And she's kind of going on like, why didn't you tell me you were alive? All this romantic banter, or pseudo romantic banter, at least coming from Carol's end. And then you find out that it was the Guardians that actually called for Carol to join them. And I'm just trying to see if there's anything relevant there. Not really. We find, as they continue to talk, you find out that Kyle kind of goes through his rationale or his reasons why no one else is, why he hasn't basically told anybody else that he's alive, and why it's probably not a good idea. At least he does mention St. Walker was in a coma, and he says, guys are red. I can't tell John because John would tell Hal, which kind of surprises Carol. And I think Carol, again, kind of internalizes stuff and makes it, and I think takes it that maybe Kyle doesn't want Hal to know because of the feelings that Carol is kind of having for Kyle. But Kyle doesn't really confirm that. He just kind of mentions that he just needs to figure some things out first, and that's why he's kind of keeping it on the down low. Then we find Palco introduces the the kind of like the leader of this alien group on the population of this planet, and his name is Nies Den Throdden, and basically he's super friendly, and what we basically find out is this planet, which is Exurus, is seemingly a paradise. It's the greatest place in the universe, Nies proclaims, and you kind of look at it, and it's kind of like almost like a spider web of connective tissue on this planet on the surface. So Carol and Kyle are kind of a little skeptical about this, and while Nies is talking, to say, "Come on, you'll believe me, look," and he just kind of like jumps off, and all of a sudden he thinks the alien's like, he's nuts, like he's gonna commit suicide or something, and then you find out that he's just floating in space. How is that possible? How is that possible? And the Guardians kind of point out there that basically what's going on or operating on this planet is what's called as an intelligent structure, and more or less it computerizes the molecules and basically lets them control everything, every single thing on the planet. So that's one of the reasons he wouldn't die, or couldn't die by just falling off. The planet again seems pretty perfect, and everybody's all friendly. Kyle and Carol go back and have a brief discussion. Carol points out that when Nies kind of like fell off, that Kyle's first reaction was not to use the ring to save him, and she goes, You're afraid to use the ring, aren't you?" And he goes, "No, I'm not afraid to use the ring, but I'm going to be a little more cautious with it. I think we kind of need to," kind of echoing what Carol said before, that there kind of needs to be maybe a little more thought out process of it, because even though Carol thinks or says, "Oh, you're a White Lantern, you could just refill the reservoir again if you really needed to," and he goes, "Well, that's kind of the problem. I don't know if I really could do that. I'm not entirely sure how it happened the first time. The entities, he basically did it with the entities' help." And he points out this is the first kind of hint, like a thing that Chad and I have talked about before, that, and most people probably suspect this too, that the entities probably really aren't gone for good. But Kyle makes the point of saying that, and the other entities are gone. After he points out that the parallax wasn't with them, he goes, "And the other entities are gone, maybe for good," which of course should send off like a gong and red alerts right there that they're almost telling you that the entities really aren't going to be gone. They're still trying to figure out why they're actually on this planet. Part of the reason why is one of the female Guardians who was listening to them, Zala, points out that we don't really have all the answers to the questions that everybody's looking for, especially since Lights Out, but we kind of have come to a consensus that the core is not the solution, so our mission is to find another way. But of course, if these were the regular Guardians, that'd be setting off more gongs in your head, because that kind of led to the Third Army's rise. But at least with these guys, we're giving them the benefit of the doubt. So the reason why it gets explained, Zala kind of explains the reason why they're really on this planet is the fact that Exurus, not that long ago, certainly in the course of evolution, was basically a backwater planet. And until a century ago, everything, all their technology and everything were far too rough. But basically, they were roughly on the equivalent of where Earth was at that point. And now here they are, 100 years later, and now they have all this massive technology and such a perfect world, and they just really don't. They want to figure out what's going on here, because it doesn't seem really logical. If it's true, if everything is as good as it seems, and it can be utopia pretty much they can learn how this was done on this planet, they could duplicate it, replicate it, and it could be basically a utopian universe. So basically, Zala kind of charges Kyle and Carol to observe and try to figure out exactly what's going on this planet. So Carol and Kyle accept this, take up the mantle that's laid on at their feet. Basically, they follow the teenage Exurians, if that's what the plurals would be, because they seem a big crowd of people gathering towards this one building. They try to get some of the natives, the aliens, try to talk them out of going there, and Kyle automatically goes, "Oh, see, this is right now. We're going to find out what's wrong because you don't want me to go here." And all of a sudden, the other guardians are there, along with Neas, and he says there's no need to do this. That we're not hiding anything, and I'll pretty much show you what's going on. So Kyle goes to check out exactly what's going on. He finds out that, cutting to the chase here, since I don't want to, he finds out that basically what's been going on this planet is that they have been searching through other alternative futures or other alternative worlds, possible worlds, different outcomes, where things were not quite as rosy, and they basically were taking all the best aspects of these other versions of their own planet to bring them through a portal to theirs. So basically they created a paradise for themselves at the price of basically destroying alternate versions of their own worlds. They're stealing their future is what Kyle accuses them of. That, as it's explained to Kyle, that the device, the portal that they've created, the device allows us to change these moments where something went wrong in our timeline and went right somewhere else. So we swap these moments. So basically all the good moments, when there is a choice between things going good and going bad, they swapped out all the good moments from other worlds, other alternate planets, versions of their planet, to make their world one perfect world. Kyle just points out, you're stealing their futures to create a world where everything is going right. You also created one where everything is going wrong. He goes, no, we take from many timelines, not merely one. Small moments, it would be easy for us to think that these did not matter. But the grandfather there, figure, who is explaining all this to him, kind of tells him that it does really matter. That that there's a price to be paid for everything they do, and some as he's continuing the story with Kyle keeps challenging that that despite the fact that there's some guilt involved and some sacrifice by their people to do this, that Kyle keeps questioning, are you okay? I mean, do you think this is okay? Do you think what you're doing is right? It is. He goes, no, it isn't worth it. You don't have the right, Kyle said. And he goes, no, but we have the ability. Do you have a better basis for whatever it is that you might do next? And before Kyle can say anything, the grandfather gets speared, and he collapses in Kyle's arms. And then Kyle looks behind him, and he finds out that all of a sudden there's a Neas from another version of this planet, another timeline, and we've been a long time coming, friend. We want our future back. And that is sorry for the long-winded first issue of New Guardians for tonight.
Look, it's Deadshot Exurin.
But there's some meat in this issue, so in a way I didn't want to gloss over it. But then again, didn't want to get bogged down in the minutia too of some of the dialogue. So
there's a Deadshot Exurin. There's a Michelangelo from TMNT Exurin up at the very top left. Looks like he's holding. No, I mean I don't know. Those could either be nunchucks or size. So maybe
yeah, it's true.
Mike/Raph.
I like the one with the green hair too.
Beast.
Yeah.
Beast Exurin. Anyways, so what did you think of this concept? The stealing from your own future / alternate realities / alternate universes.
I kind of liked it actually.
Yeah, but see, I don't know though. Like, what is it? Are they stealing from multiple timelines, or are they somehow accessing other universes in which Xurus exists? Like, I don't know.
I think it's more timelines because I think the grandfather says that it's other timelines. Yeah, where something went wrong in our timeline and went right somewhere else, and we take from many timelines. So I'm assuming it's actually more that there's alternate timelines as opposed to, which is kind of essentially if really the same thing when you really think about it. I mean, how
Yeah.
do you slice it? I mean, alternate timelines, alternate universes. That's kind of what it is in a way.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, because isn't the whole concept of an alternate universe like, if you make a choice in one universe, there's a like, if it's a yes or a no choice and you say yes in this universe, there's another universe where you said no.
Yes, yeah.
And
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just not like the multiverse. It's just not where they're taking from Xurus like a 15 or something like that. It's not just as clear cut. They're not. I mean that's about the only differentiation I should say you can really make between that. But it's a similar concept.
hmm.
It's like but I don't know. I thought the concept was kind of interesting. I I liked again for the most part. I like the way Carol is drawn mostly, but I don't like the character that they're giving her at least when she's with Kyle. But I thought the storyline itself was interesting. I thought the Guardians, what their goals were, or at least on the surface, what their goals were, I thought was interesting. I liked it. I thought it was a good way to to kind of continue the flow of the feel of the book, I should say, since it's actually the first issue it's the first issue since the new creative team took over that really isn't tied at all to Lights Out. All the previous issues were the prologue, and then we had the actual Lights Out tie-in. So, but I still like I like the vibe off it, and I still think there isn't anything that happened in this book or really in the other two books that we're going to be talking about tonight. I think that makes me change my mind that this is the best Lantern book right now still.
Do you think that Carol Ferris was at one point Queen of the Zamorons?
Oh, in this timeline?
Yeah.
I think that's a good question.
I mean, obviously she commands enough respect to get an audience with them, but Hal commanded enough respect to get a bunch of Lanterns had commanded enough respect to get an audience with the Guardians. So I don't. It doesn't just.
I'm trying to remember how long ago did they make her queen? That's what I was trying to think off the top of my head when you asked me that.
It was after Queen Agapo died during Brightest Day. She was queen during Brightest Day, because I remember that she was the one who had the Predator with her. Remember at one point he was like sulking around her like it was her pet?
I do remember, yeah.
That was after
right.
Agapo died. So.
I don't know. I think that's a good. I think everything indicates that she wasn't, just based on the interactions. But of course, we've never been told directly that she wasn't. Maybe they figure it's such a minor point from the point of view of how she interacts with everybody else that she interacts with, that they don't really need to address it. I'm not sure.
I mean, it's not like they're disrespectful or anything. But they do say two things that could go either way. The first one being, are you implying that you're unhappy with our command? Meaning that if she says that she is, maybe their next line of thought could be, well, you can always take back the throne, that kind of a thing. And they also say, but you are not in charge. So could she say, you used to be, you could have been making this decision. Like, I don't know. Are they implying with what the Zamorons do say that she was in charge or that she wasn't? I don't know.
I think maybe if they had put more emphasis on you are not in charge, or the you in that sentence, or are you implying you are unhappy with our command, that they put the emphasis on our, maybe the way it was written? Then maybe I would take it as almost like a dig that they're trying to say, well, this, where you're going with it, kind of like, well, this is what happens when you this didn't have to be this way. If you kept what we gave you, you wouldn't be in this situation. I just kind of thought that they were kind of exercising that making it clear who was in control. I didn't know, not so much that it was a pure power struggle, or that they were in a way making Carol revisit her own decisions. I just thought it was them. They were making it clear. They were basically getting information from her about what's the deal with Hal. Is this going to be an issue for us going forward, or about dealing with the Greens? Is there a basically war on the horizon, or is there not? And then just making it clear that we kind of respect the info you're giving us and the sacrifice of everybody, including Kyle. But that doesn't mean that that you're calling the shots. So
I like the background images here and there, like Kyle teaching Nias how to shake hands.
Yes. That is kind of funny.
Yeah. Let's see. I still don't know if I like the Kyle Carol romantic thing.
No, I know that I don't. So the only thing that I do like, and we've kind of touched on this before, the only thing that I do like is they're kind of making it crystal clear at this point that the feelings are really only going one way.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be a ruse until Kyle sticks his tongue down her throat in one issue, and then it's like, oh, I've been holding back these feelings for so long. But moving beyond that possibility, they do make it clear, and that's why I think it annoys me so much that Carol's the one that's kind of acting like this lovesick teenager or unrequited love or whatever, and you think she'd be old enough to begin with where she wouldn't quite act that way. Plus, it's the fact that she doesn't really know Kyle that well. But I do like the fact that Kyle just kind of he just kind of shakes it off. That and we'll kind of come back to that once as we go through the issues, because it's another kind of rears its head again in issue 27, the banter between the two of them, which I kind of gave you a preview of and how I described it, but yeah, I don't like it. I don't really think it's let's see where they go with it. I mean, maybe they'll throw us a curveball with it, but I think as long as Kyle kind of remains on the same path that he's on, it's a little easier to take for me. But we'll see.
You know what I don't get is after Nias jumps, that panel where Kyle goes into his civilian clothes for a panel and then goes right back to his White Lantern outfit. What? Well,
I think.
What is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it is a kind of a dumb concept to try to be incognito. It's like, I'm gonna go incognito. it's like you couldn't be incognito if you wanted to. You look nothing like the people on this planet. So wearing a bright white shiny outfit or wearing t-shirt and pants, what is it gonna matter? But I think that's only what he was kind of alluding to. Was kind of playing off what Carol said. It's like, if you mean to go incognito, I don't think that's actually going to help. It's like, but yeah, it didn't really make much sense. I mean, it didn't really have to happen.
I do like the fact that this book is evolving. You can tell, particularly in the Guardians themselves, the mission for them is evolving. Like Carol says, billion years in a box, see the sights part of the plan, and they say, no, we're not in that stage anymore. Now we're in the Green Lantern Corps is not the solution, so we're going to try and find a better way. Like, their plan is evolving. I like that. It's not they're not in see the sights mode anymore. We're in a shift in roles here.
Yes. That is hopefully from a storytelling point of view, yes, that's definitely a good switch. Whether it's good for the Green Lanterns or not, we'll have to see, because it does kind of set off a certain number of alarms if you kind of heard similar talk not that long ago.
Mm. Yeah, it's just that, how long did you want them to be in see the sights mode? I mean, after a certain amount of time, it would probably get annoying to have these childlike, naive guardians learning about the universe, The only problem I have with it, if any, is the fact that all we really had is this lights out stuff. Have they really had much time to learn about the universe? But even still, I do like the fact that they're progressing. So
But
that's cool.
Lights Out probably speeded up their need, as far as they were concerned, their need to kind of get things under control and to reevaluate things, because obviously there were a lot of things that happened in Lights Out that that had been either proven, or at least it's being alluded that it was completely different than the way they thought things really were. That things were operating a little, or I shouldn't say a little, a lot differently than they thought they were, at least before they went went on their guard duty of Valthum. So I think it makes sense that and plus, if you buy into the whole that the spectrum is limited, and using the power drains it, and it's killing the universe every time you do it, even if it's ever so slowly, if they could find a better solution to kind of make the universe a better place without having to use the core, without even having to use the light potentially as much, if at all, then that's also in everybody's best interest as far. So that may have changed their focal point too.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I like this concept. It seems overly confusing.
Which one, the timeline thing?
Yeah, because and you guys don't know this, but when we were talking before, like off air, about who was taking what issue for review, he said I was taking 26, and I was like, sigh, because that's like the meat of the alternate timeline, what's happening type of a thing, of a concept I didn't really understand to begin with.
I'm sorry, Chad.
It's all right.
To be fair, you were correct, and that's not why I chose. And that's not in particular why I said I'd do 25 and 27. We're just kind of keeping the alternating pattern going. But I will agree that 26 is a little more confusing than 25.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like 26 nearly as much as 25. Probably for that reason.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's. I mean, it's a comic book, and it's advanced technology. I understand the basic of what's going on, but the stealing from futures and multiple futures and all of this stuff, it just seems like a bunch of elements of time travel type sci-fi stories all mixed into one, and it's hard to tell what they're going for here. I mean, like, you understand it, but you don't, kind of a thing.
Yes. I think that sums it up nicely.
Mm-hmm. I like how the splash page. Okay, so at the very beginning of the book, well, towards the very beginning of the book, when you first see Exurus.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get there with my digital copy here. Look at the panel.
The Exurus is the greatest place in the universe.
Yes,
panel,
yeah,
right?
the title page there. Look at the way Exurus is laid out. Look at the position of the planets and the orbiting moons and everything, and look at the position of the panels themselves. And then go to the page where they go to the Exurus of the future.
Oh, when it's all burning?
Yeah.
That one?
The layout of the panels is almost exactly the same.
That is true. Yes, it is, actually.
Exurus itself is almost exactly the same. As far as the position of the buildings, and they're standing on that ledge thing, and that ledge was to the left of that major panel, and it was on a slope, and that whole thing.
Yep, it makes sense, actually. It doesn't mean structurally it would make sense the planet would look. But yes, but even the way it's being set up, yes, it's like it's the negative image, pretty much, literally,
of what we saw earlier. So that's cool. So your first glimpse of paradise, and your first glimpse, as Kyle says it himself, of hell, and it's the exact same image, only a different perspective, really. So that's cool. I see. Basically, that's a nod of the hat to the artist. I see what you did there. I don't know. Is there anything else to say about this? I mean, for a concept that's, I don't want to say overly complicated, but for a concept that's complicated, there's not a whole lot to say about it.
I think, like you mentioned, more of it I think comes out in the next issue more than this issue. So that's kind of like the twist you get towards the right towards the very end is when you kind of get the twists, the explanation of what's going on. And then of course you have the alternate version, Nias stepping out.
Mm-hmm. All right, well then I'll go ahead and go over to 26 if you don't mind.
Sounds good.
All right, Green Lantern New Guardians number 26. Justin Jordan, Brad Walker, Gerardo Borges. We pick up right where the previous one left off. Kyle is trying to hold off Alt Nias. I'll just call him Alt Nias.
Or Bad Nias.
Like Alt. Alt Nias puts this bracelet thing on his forearm as Kyle attacks him, and basically Kyle's attack doesn't work. Kyle says, well, all right, well, basically he says, all right, fine, I'm going to pour on the power. And the Guardian, Yekop, who basically forevermore shall be known as the one who likes to talk a lot, the one who doesn't know shorthand, comes flying in and basically says no, because what he's doing is he's altered the, I don't know, what is this system that keeps this planet basically like nanobots, right?
Their intelligence structure,
yeah,
quote unquote.
Yeah, their intelligence structure is fighting you off because he's commanding it now. Alt Nice is commanding it now. So the more power you pour on attacking him, the more power the intelligent structure puts in to defending him. So therefore, you're not only pulling resources away from the rest of the planet, you're draining. When you go full power, the intelligent structure goes full power, and the system starts to break down, basically. So what he does is Kyle then starts to go on the defensive, puts up a construct bubble around the Alt Exurans, and tries to heal the grandfather with the blue light. Alt Exurus presses a button on his the Alt Nias touches a button on his spear thing, and grandfather blows up. They realize that he has command of the Guardians realize he has command of the system. Then a massive fight breaks out, and bombs go off, and other Alt Exurans come flying in. He starts directing the Alt Nice directs the structure. Basically, what he does for the rest of this issue really is Alt Nice turns the structure into basically almost kind of like a ring. He's kind of basically creating constructs to fight them. Alt's grandfather comes through the portal, and they start talking about some plan. Carol grabs the other soldiers, the Alt Exurans, and goes flying off, and then something happens with the portal. Regular Nias, says so many timelines it's not possible. So I don't think this is just Alt Nias' timeline. I think it's all the slighted timelines coming together and converging. I don't know what the hell's happening here on this particular.
I think so. That's probably correct. If you look at the way it's like a puzzle, all the pieces fitting together to make that close to a splash page, the title page.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of what it is. I think it's maybe basically it's like it's an alliance of all the worlds that they screwed over, pretty much.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Alt Nias attacks regular Nias. Kyle jumps in, and Alt Nias tries to go for a kill shot on regular Nias, but the Guardians swoop in and take Nias away. Carol is holding off the army while Kyle goes up against Alt Nias. There's battle all over the place. The structure is weakening. The Guardians then join the fight and try to bring the whole thing to a conclusion. Alt Nice is still going up against Kyle. Tells him he's going to tear the paradise down. Alt Nias, I think that's Alt Nias. At least maybe one of the soldiers. I think so.
Where are you?
When the Guardians come swooping in towards the portal. Is that Alt Nice? That's mimicking Gandalf. You shall not pass.
Yes, I do remember. I do remember reading that, and I'm just trying to get to the picture. But yes, I think it probably is him.
Okay, so the Guardians bring up Nias to the Alt's grandfather, who apologizes to him. Kyle is trying to argue with Alt Nias, and he's not having any of it, but Nias is talking to Alt's grandfather, and he seems to be listening about, I thought you guys were monsters, but you're not, and Nias is like, well, look what you're doing. So Alt's grandfather starts to rethink everything. All the Alt soldiers are captured, and I guess Carol put him back through the portal. At this point, Kyle takes the initiative and punches/shatters the controlling unit off of Alt Nias' arm. He goes up against Kyle. Kyle wraps him in a crazy bag. In the world, the superstructure is now back in control of its own self and starts repairing all of the damage. Kyle then tells Nias, regular Nias, that, hey, you need to fix things around here or I will. Then Nias turns to the Guardians, is like, well, what should I do to make this right? And they just basically said, hey, do what Kyle said. Fix it or we will. And Kyle's like, you didn't like what I did. And Carol's like, well, no. Giving orders and ultimatums and edicts doesn't sound like you. And he's like, well, somebody has to, and I guess that's me. And then the Guardians are talking to each other. Did you learn what you wanted to from this? No, Lantern Rainer does not understand what he saw beyond the source wall, but they are coming, and he is not ready. And that is the end of this issue.
I like the Guardians and Kyle being proactive at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that. I mean, it was almost necessary, but I kind of liked the fact that they did it nonetheless. The fact that they pretty much, when Nias is asking how do we make it right? It's like, well, you do like Kyle says, all the timelines you've stolen from, give them the chance to be better. So basically, go back through, throw them all a bone, give them something that maybe they can build on, and then make sure you destroy the gate technology so there can't be any more crossing over one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. And the little conversation between Kyle and Carol is somewhat interesting, only because, again, part of you, at least for me, part of you wonders if maybe part of the reason why Carol is questioning the approach of Kyle, not necessarily his decision, but his approach, is because maybe she's seeing a little bit of Hal in him. That seems to be like a Hal kind of approach, a black and white kind of way of looking at things. So maybe that's what, to a certain extent, pushes a button on her. And even if she doesn't know why, I think maybe that, because you could very easily see Hal making that same kind of decision.
Mm-hmm.
I know the middle of the issue was kind of hard. You did a good job. The middle of the issue was kind of hard to kind of go into in any more detail than you did, because it is pretty much panel after panel of Kyle fighting the alternate Nias, and then Carol fighting the troops, and the Guardians coming here, coming there. So
I do like the fact that the Guardians are getting hands-on.
I do too.
You used to get that feeling whenever you were reading the old school books, like the Guardians never got involved, and when they did, it was a big deal. It was like, oh shit, things are bad enough for the Guardians to step in. So I like that.
So what did you think of this issue or the arc? Which this is kind of odd too because we're doing a 3-issue review and surprisingly enough the third issue is a standalone issue and this arc was only 2 issues.
I know, right? Isn't that awesome?
I realized that when I'm rereading these last time. It's like wow. It's like I kind of knew that. I knew it obviously going back to reread them because I remembered the basic storylines, but it just kind of struck me as odd, and especially compared to a core in Green Lantern where basically it's the same storyline going on in issue after issue after issue.
You know, I like the fact I mean to be honest, I don't have much interest in this Exurus thing. But I don't like it's not like Green Lantern Corps. It's not like the Durlans and the Coon thing. It's just it's an interesting story, and I wanted to read it, and I was happy to be reading it. But yeah, and at the same time, I was like, why are we here and not somewhere else? But I'm sure we'll see why later on. And I do like the fact that it was a 2-issue story arc instead of just like a 3, 4, 5 with crossovers or something like that. So that was cool. I did kind of wonder, and I've been kind of wondering this for a little while, why Kyle keeps defaulting to certain colors, like green and red. When it didn't hit me until I saw him trying to use the blue light to heal the grandfather. I would think that Kyle would find more excuses to use blue. I don't know why I think that, but I do.
No, I think that would make sense. You would think, based on who Kyle is and his experience wielding rings to begin with, that you would think the blue he does have a little bit of experience with, not overly successful, but the premise of the concept seems to fit him. We know, green is always like I think we discussed. Green is always probably going to be his default because he probably still sees himself more as a Green Lantern than anything else. Plus, it's the color that he's more used to using and he has a better handle on. But he does use. It is interesting. He does tend to use rage fairly often, not super often, but more than he uses fear, I think. And fear is something that, in a way, you would think would be more natural for Kyle.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
And they did kind of tell us why they at least came to that planet because it was but I know it is something maybe some variation on the theme will be revisited or some aspect of this, or of course there's always the realistic possibility that they don't really do what they're told to do. They might throw the other timelines a bone, but it doesn't mean they're going to just really completely destroy the portal.
Yeah.
The gateway. But again, it's just the Guardians. I think for now anyway, that's what we're supposed to take, that it's the Guardians trying to look for the alternate solutions and the best way to police and keep the universe running smoothly. And if they could have found something, if this world had been as good as it looked, without any consequence, which of course we know there's always consequences. But if that hadn't been the case, then they would have struck pay dirt pretty much right away. It would have certainly helped when it comes to the draining of the emotional spectrum.
I wonder what this peaceful paradise of a planet is going to do with a mass murderer like Alt-Nias, and Carol I was able to push most of the alternate Exurans back through the holes. So that implies there's still some other ones there. So what is this paradise of a planet going to do? Come up with a prison? And how's that going to affect the populace?
Well, and I guess there's always a chance that when they're sending whatever bones they're going to be throwing these other timelines, and maybe they'll be sending the people back too.
Maybe.
You guys got a science cell? Take these guys with you. Come on. You'll like Mogo.
What else? Anything else?
I don't think so. I think we touched on everything. Well, not everything. That'd be presumptuous. I think we touched on the key points, I should say.
Yeah. All right. So you want to take 27 then?
Sure. Issue 27. Justin Jordan is the writer. Andre Bresson is the artist. While Brad Walker did kind of work on the cover, he didn't do most of this issue. And the cover has Kyle Rayner's little hand being grabbed up there, with his white ring on, and all the colors of most of the colors. It could be all, but on mine it doesn't look like I don't see red really. But either way, the emotional spectrum's pouring out of his ring, and the title on the cover is "In the Hands of the Warmonger." So we open up, and we are in space sector 3100, Muscarian space, and we find out very quickly that this is a mouthful. The Kalamawans or Kalamawans, otherwise will be known from this point on as Exeter's people, are attacking the home world of the Muscarians, which are basically little mushroom people, little innocent mushroom people, but Exeter's people are attacking because they think for some reason they believe these little mushroom people are their mortal enemies. And we find out quickly from the narration that the person who is doing the narration is Exeter, our old friend from the early first two issues of New Guardians, who was the protector of the Anomaly and Relic until Kyle and the Guardians showed up and screwed it all up. And Exeter is completely stunned by what's going on because this is not like his people. They shouldn't be doing this. There's no real animosity between his race and the Muscarians, but yet they keep attacking. And Exeter makes a choice, which is that he's going to protect the Muscarians. That's part of his role as the keeper. And of course, his people who are fighting him say, Keeper, you do not deserve that title, not after you betray us like this. And Exeter is kind of he's got his full Exeter going on. It's like, I am Exeter, I do not betray, and I do not fail. And he basically is beating the crap out of almost all of his own people, the warriors that are trying to stop him. They throw out a little line like, you should not have come here alone. And he goes, what makes you think I would be so unwise as to come here alone? And the one warrior that was about to let's say he was going to inflict serious damage on Exeter potentially, he gets smacked in the face with a green construct, and of course who shows up but Kyle, Carol, and the New Guardians, because Exeter had asked for their help. And Kyle asks Exeter as he continues to beat the hell out of his own people, do you really need a hand? He goes, but your offer is appreciated, but not, but unnecessary. The matter is in hand. Or, Kyle makes a joke about it, or in foot as a foot comes through, kick in the face of one of Exeter's people. The Guardians ask Exeter, so what's really the big deal here? Being a little more politically correct than that, because we have business elsewhere. So what do you require of us? And he goes, I don't need any help in small battles such as this, Palco. I may need you Guardians to help me end a war. And Zala says, you people are at war with the Muscarians? That just seems really, really unlikely. And he goes, no, it's not unlikely. It's impossible. The Muscarians are incapable of violence. So he knows Exeter's really concerned about why this would be going on. And we find out, in a way, one of the benefits of this story is we find out a little more of what Exeter's role as the keeper was, not just of the Anomaly. That besides protecting the Anomaly, he he's the protector of the entire Kalamaran race from the exile of the anomaly, or the protecting the anomaly. He watches over all, so he's in an honored position. But he points out that once you guys showed up before, you kind of destroyed the anomaly and ended my role. So for the first time for the first time in history, I didn't have a role in protecting the anomaly, but my responsibility to protect my people still stand. And he points out that I would ask you to help because I kind of feel like you owe me one for kind of screwing me out of my last gig. And he kind of goes, yeah, okay. And they kind of realize that what's going on. Part of what's been going on with Exeter's people is that they all have their cognitive abilities have been augmented. So there's kind of like a exocortex more that basically has improved in their memory storage and their intellectual capacity. So as Kyle, he breaks it down and makes it simple. So they built themselves extra brains, and then someone hacked them, which is exactly, we find out what's going on, is that the fact that we find out later on in the storyline that what's happened is that Exeter's people have been brainwashed into thinking certain things, and they're being used. And we find out, I'm trying to cut to the chase with this issue, that there's one being in particular that is controlling all this, that is the source of his Exeter's people and their brainwashing and everything. That he kind of almost looks, he's got it almost like a pseudo eye patch on with a beard. He kind of looks like the Hulk as Maestro combined with Exeter. And when Exeter, Carol, Kyle go to confront him, Kyle picks up really quickly that he goes, I'm glad you're entertained with all, you're entertained now. Who exactly are you? Because I don't believe for even a second you're one of Exeter's people, not with that voice. So he sounds completely different than most of Exeter's people. We find out that basically he has more or less taken over that form, that basically he is a kind of like a profiteer, that he has been, that he is that Kyle refers to him as a warmonger, because basically he's an arms dealer, and basically if there's not a war or conflict, they use these little tricks of brainwashing and controlling and people to make there a need for weapons. So Kyle refers to him as a warmonger, and he goes, I'm called a lot of things, but warmonger does have a certain ring to it. And speaking of rings, I'm quite interested in yours. So during the conflict, we find out that the body that the warmonger has taken over was basically going to be the next keeper. The body was grown to be Exeter's successor. So he's probably the creme de la creme of warriors, at least from a body point of view, that Kyle could have, unfortunately for him, run up against. And of course, he's made some upgrades using the technology. Now he tries to convince Kyle to give him for his ring. Like what powers your ring? Is that hard light technology? I could make you an excellent deal if you would like to share. And Kyle goes, yeah, sure, I'll share. And he blasts him in the face with white energy. And unfortunately, Kyle finds out that he is more than capable of absorbing high levels of energy. Meanwhile, Exeter doesn't care about this. Exeter is kind of broken down now. His armor's kind of off, and he keeps confronting Warmonger. Warmonger makes a point of saying, you are obsolete. Your world has changed. I've made it mine. There's no profit in this venture for you. And Kyle, looking all extremely shiny there, goes, or for you, because you're clients. I think they'd like to have a word with you. And pretty much walk, once again, kind of like the last issue where Kyle was keeping the main villain busy while everybody else worked behind the scenes to undo the damage. We find out that the new Guardians basically had kind of like reprogrammed or shut down the contamination, the corruption of the exocortex. So Exeter's people are kind of back to where they were. We confront they capture the warmonger. We also find out that technically that I guess as a failsafe when these little excursions or incursions don't really work, that wherever the warmonger comes from, that pretty much he just uploads his consciousness to get it out of there. So it's like if he's got to jump ship, cut bait, he does it and gets out of there. But the Guardians kind of prevented that from happening. But it is interesting that even though he can't really escape, he's just a copy of whatever the primary was, the master. He just kind of points out that my primary will want reintegration. I cannot allow you primitives to retain an instance of my existence. My primary will be coming. And of course, Exeter really doesn't care about that. He's in no mood to negotiate. He tells them to place him in a secure facility. The warmonger keeps trying to negotiate, and Exeter just says if he speaks again, nail his tongue to the nearest convenient surface. There's some cute little banter going on between Kyle and Exeter, kind of at the end, about Exeter actually makes a joke when after Exeter points out this world isn't how he remembers it, and Kyle throws out that old line, "They do say you can't go home again." And he goes, "Clearly I can." And then Kyle goes, "Well, what I really meant was," and he goes, "That was a joke, Kyle Rayner." He's like, "Oh, then it was funny." And Exeter kind of points out, which I did kind of gloss over in this issue, that early on in the issue when Carol and Kyle first show up to help, that Exeter makes a comment about this is really like no time for romantic banter. Excuse me. Batter would be something completely different. Romantic banter, which kind of stuns Kyle a little because he goes romantic, which again means Kyle's kind of oblivious if he's not picking up on Carol's signals, or maybe he doesn't want to. But at the end, Exeter points out, Carol would make an excellent life share. And Kyle goes, "Well, I don't think she's dating, but I probably can get her number for you." And he goes, You're a fool, Kyle Rayner. You don't see what's right in front of you." And Kyle, once again, "I don't know what you're talking about," which to me kind of at this point is implying that Kyle kind of knows what's going on, and he just kind of wants to avoid it as much as possible until he has to deal with it. Kyle asks him if there's anything else that you need from us, if you need me to help fix stuff. And he goes, "No, you cannot solve all the problems of others. This we must fix ourselves. For years I stood alone on the edge of the universe, believing I was alone in my responsibility. I was wrong." He goes, "Remember that until we meet again, Kyle Rayner." And that ends issue 27, and so hopefully we'll be seeing Exeter down the road again. And that's that.
Kind of an odd point, but I like the use of Exeter calling Kyle Rayner every time he says his name.
Yeah, it is kind of cool when some aliens or characters do that, because it just seems kind of natural.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. Be like me saying instead of "Hey Mark Marvel."
Yeah.
Hey Mark Marvel. What did you think of the art in this issue?
I knew you were going to ask that, because it's really interesting because it seems a little uneven at times. I think Exeter and his people are drawn really well. I like that. There are some instances that I like the way Kyle looks, but not all. Not all the time. I don't really like Carol that much. I certainly don't like her face, the way she's drawn.
I don't like her face.
I know, it sounded really harsh. She's like, she needs to have some work done. No, it just doesn't really look like Carol. Like when they're sitting there in that little spaceship talking, that as they're traveling back to Exeter's world, that it just seems like she looks more Asian than she looks like Carol. They do it it's an interesting take on Kyle's White Lantern uniform, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I don't know what your thoughts are, because I think you tend not to like it super shiny, but they certainly draw it pretty shiny in this issue.
Yeah.
The Warmonger looked cool, but again, everything that was related to Exeter and his people, I thought looked pretty cool, and the little mushroom people look kind of cool. I did kind of feel bad for them, so for some reason that kind of got the desired effect.
What is Warmonger, you think? Or do they come back to that later on?
I think they'll probably revisit it later on. Since we know he's a copy, we know he's not the original. It's almost like he's a virus in a way. It's almost like he's a computer virus that gets spread out, or a computer program that gets spread out. But it was an interesting concept to a certain extent. I mean, I think overall it was an interesting concept. I liked that we saw Exeter again, and I think you got some of the answers that you remember when we talked about Exeter. I think we were talking about some of the questions about him, what his job was. Was he always the only one? Was he always the only keeper? Or was that, and things like that. I think we kind of get a little more of an insight into who he was, who he is, and what his role was. And obviously, if they're growing another keeper or training, had a body ready to go for another keeper, that at least at some point that they knew he was going to need a replacement.
Yeah.
Which kind of implies to me that he's not the only, that he probably isn't the only one, but we also don't know how long they live. But the odds are that since there's a history there, since there's a tradition of what the keeper is, I think it's probably safe to say that he's just one of the in a line of keepers.
I like little bits of comedy throughout this. Like the point where Kyle breaks down the door. And Carol, do you remember the last time you opened the door and someone wasn't waiting to kill us? And Kyle's like, not even a little.
or also the point when just how Exeter points out after Kyle breaks down the door, like I would have gotten it eventually. It's like, yeah, I would have gotten it eventually. I also find it interesting that Kyle, again, he uses red. Mm-hmm. He uses the red construct, and then almost like an homage to that is when, to me, when Exeter is going, you will undo this atrocity. Mm-hmm. I kind of thought that was kind of potentially clever if that's what they were going for.
I'm kind of glad they, made Kyle realize it in this issue, because any longer and I would have called bullshit. I was going to call bullshit before now, because Kyle's the first one supposedly the first one in history to get a handle on the entire emotional spectrum. In the previous 2 issues ago, he pulled up a map based on who was feeling what in the area and detected fear and anger in an area. So if he can detect emotions, surely he can detect love and feel that Carol feels something for him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, any longer I would have called bullshit on it. I mean, look at her. She's waving at him.
With her breast.
That's right.
Kyle. I don't know. So now the real question becomes, he's had blinders on probably on purpose. So the question is he, how they're going to take it or where they're going to go with it? Does he have the blinders on just because he doesn't think he should go there, and he knows that if he does go there, even if he has the feelings to go there, that it's probably going to not be a good thing for multiple reasons? Or has he been avoiding it and doesn't want to deal with it because he really doesn't have the feelings, and that's going to be a whole nother problem when that gets put on the table? So they can pretty much go one of two ways with that. Let's see where they go.
Yeah.
But Exeter kind of is a funny guy, though.
Yeah.
In his own deadpan kind of way, he is funny. He just makes those comments, just like his joke at the end, which of course you can almost imagine the way he would deliver the line. So Kyle would never in a million years think he was actually being funny.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Exeter meets Kilowog.
That would be good.
It's like Exeter is Kyle's own personal Kilowog.
Be interesting to see him meet our Kilo too.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I don't know that there's much to say about this. Not because it wasn't interesting or good or anything. It's just that I do want one shots like this. I do like this. It's just that there's not much here, and
No,
until they call back to it later on, like with when what's his name, the warmonger says, I'm just a piece of, my primary is coming soon. So when they call back to it later on, then there'll be more to talk about. But
right.
For now, there's not a whole lot.
And a bunch of the issue was just them fighting on.
Yeah, it's just
fighting Exeter's people. I mean, once they left Mushroom Land to arrive back on Exeter's planet, then for the most part, there was just a lot of battling going on, at least until you got through the door and dealt with the warmonger.
Yeah.
And that's when you kind of got the twist. And I like the fact that you found out that basically that his body was going to be the other keeper, was the next keeper. So.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say about this issue or the all three issues in general?
No, I like them though. I thought they were good. I didn't think it's certainly nothing happened in these three issues to change my overall opinion of this book, and that's a good thing because to me this is still the best of the four books at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because I know last time we talked about Core, and that one of the interesting things that we're struggling with is that in a way Core kind of is giving you in a way what you would expect a book called Green Lantern Core to be like, or to be, the content-wise, what it would contain, but yet somehow it's not satisfying, whether it's just because it's the same basic idea, the same storyline that's going on and on and on, or whether there's more to it. You look at this issue and kind of like just the way they handled in these three issues, how they had a 2-issue arc, a 1-issue arc, and that pattern kind of is continuing now, and after that, in the next story arc. So I think that's going to be a 3-issue arc because they've already had 2 issues of this, and with a cliffhanger heading into the next. So I think it's another 3-issue arc. But still, maybe from a structural point of view, maybe the way New Guardians is doing it would be a better way for the Core to do it. Couple 1-issue story arcs, 2-issue arcs, a 3-issue arc, and still kind of accomplishing the same thing. Because in a way, if Kyle was a Green Lantern floating in space with the Guardians right now, you could almost see how this would fit into a Core book too, since they're doing Core. They're going to other planets, doing, they're, you know what I mean. So it is interesting from us why exactly this book is so successful. Is it just because it's completely unrelated to the other books? Is it because of the more sci-fi kind of feel to it and what they're going for, or or maybe this is just going to right now this is the designated book for the bigger ideas and for the concepts that are going to affect all the cores and all the books. Maybe this is the book for whatever reason that was plotted out as that's where all the initial shoes are going to drop.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, well, listener feedback?
Sounds good.
All right, I'll start off with Facebook, and then if you want to read the email.
Yes,
and then,
I have the email up.
And then I'll do Twitter.
Okay.
So, just on Facebook, just a couple of shout-outs. Posted the Villains Month episode, and shout-outs to Sean and Ryan, as well as Dan, who said, who could resist such astoundingly 3D covers? I got bored one day and made up a Sliders podcast artwork, and I said, the Sliders podcast, and Jim chimed in and said, it's called Sliders Cast, because we're lazy and that's how we name podcasts. But other than that, I like the art. Episodes should be getting posted soon over at sliderscast.com, says Jim. Although I just tried to go to sliderscast.com a minute ago and it didn't work, so get on that, Jim. Thanks to
following in the great tradition of LanternCast.com and some issues there.
Yeah, exactly.
It just follows us everywhere.
Yep. St. Patrick's Day was a big roaring success over on the LanternCast. Thanks to Grace and Chris, Ben and Matthew and Dwayne and John and everybody who liked our little cover photo of that classic St. Patty's Day artwork with the Green Lantern Corps and all related names, characters, and elements. um, Sergio and Chad are really seeming to enjoy the new show. Sergio wants us to coax Jim and Dan back once in a while, and maybe James from Ireland. And Chad has similar sentiments. I also posted a link over to the outhousers.com that had basically a quick little interview with the Green Lantern animated series showrunners, talking about where the Green Lantern animated series was headed. Basically, that the first half, because the way that the DVDs released before the Blu-ray collection that's out now was, it was the Red Lantern stuff first in the first half, and then the second half was the Anti-Monitor Aya stuff, Manhunter stuff. Well, the first half of the next season would have been Sinestro Corps War, and the second half would have been like Blackest Night / Seeds for Blackest Night. So that had a lot of people up in arms. Posted.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Posted a couple of things. I'll get to this one thing last, so that'll lead into the email. Posted a couple of things that I combined my Arctic Batman Lego figure with my White Lantern Superman S-World figure, and now I have a White Lantern Batman Lego figure. And Jim said pics or it didn't happen, so today I posted pics, of which Chris is exceedingly jealous, it seems. Errol C., an artist friend of mine who's been interviewed on the show before, local Austin artist, posted the other day of a commission he did for a customer of his. Daryl Dixon from Walking Dead going up against some Black Lanterns and holding a crossbow to Black Hand's head, which is pretty freaking cool. Also, posted up something that I saw the other day online. Apparently, there is going to be a ceramic salt and pepper shaker set of Green Lantern and Flash. So that's pretty freaking cool.
That was interesting looking.
Yeah, I'll buy it for the novelty, if nothing else. I said I'm kind of hoping. Or what did I say? The
arms, right? You don't want the salt to go in the arms.
Yeah, but I said get ready for your basic table condiments to become faster friends. Because I'm clever like that. And then last but not least, I just posted a couple of things. So thanks to Mark and Dan and Chad and Dowd. Posted about our Lights Out episode, which went up, I believe, on the 20th. So that went up not too long ago. So we haven't had that much of a chance to get feedback, but we did get an email about it, so that's pretty quick turnaround.
That was surprising, but it's funny because I just happened to check it. Like about an hour before we were going to record tonight, and it's like, oh, it took me a second because it was so quick. It was like at first I thought it was, this was his response to my response to his previous email, but it wasn't. So this is from Scott, who's been a regular emailer for us for a while now, and we can count on Scott to email us pretty much after every episode, so that's really cool. So Scott goes, "Hi guys, I just finished the Lights Out episode, and I want to pass along that you did a great commentary on the 5-issue series, and I really enjoyed both of your insights. I agree with you. I can't believe some people think it was horrible. I actually really enjoyed it. I think the people that didn't like it are Hal fans. I liked how half-cocked he was, just like old times, and in the end Kyle becomes the savior of the story, which was refreshing to see. Just a quick note, I think one of the villains that was released from the Science Cells was Flicker. Do you remember him from the 90s? I love that you guys are covering all 7 titles. He might be a little too generous towards us with that, because who knows when we're going to get to some of these things. But he goes, and that you're going to go back and finish Threshold. I still have the second half of the Threshold issues piled on my floor, all unread yet. As does everyone else have, Scott. Some are using them to prop up tables and other things. Or bird cages. I'll get to them when you review them. I'm a bit of a completist myself, so I'm glad to hear that it sounds like you guys are too. Only the most serious Green Lantern podcast on the planet will go back and review Threshold.
That's right, Mark.
Well, I guess after he throws that out, we almost have no choice. That will be the drunk episode for me, I think.
Oh, I will be giving you no choice. We have to get shit reviews every now and then. That way we can, keep people laughing.
That either that or those will be like we'll hold ourselves to like 5-minute reviews for each issue, which might be more than enough. Speaking of old issues, there's a bunch of issues of the Green Lantern, the animated series, that need to be looked at too. Hint: keep up the great work, Scott. I would much rather read the animated series books than Threshold.
Okay, I won't say there are plans, but we've talked about this. We've talked about the Green Lantern animated series, as well as the tie-in animated series comic book, and doing some sort of coverage of that. I won't say specifically what we plan to do with it because nothing's been confirmed yet, but we do have plans to cover it sooner rather than later in some way, shape, or form. It's just a matter of semantics. With all that Mark and I have to get to, it was looking kind of like we wouldn't be able to get to some of the other stuff like the animated series, like Threshold, like Larfleeze, for a while. But we're working on some stuff, so hopefully you'll be able to hear some reviews about the animated series as well as the animated series comic book sooner than we had previously anticipated. So, I don't know, is that sufficient enough, you think, Mark?
I think so.
Okay. All right. As far as Flicker, I know who you're talking about, but I don't know 100%. The reason being is because Green Lantern number 22, 23, and 24 I have. Those were the issues where Star Sapphire showed up for like a 3-issue arc. And then it kind of went into the whole the quote unquote new Green Lantern Corps storyline stuff. And Flicker was on the cover of 21 right before the 3-issue Star Sapphire thing. It's been forever since I've read those issues, those 3 Star Sapphire involved issues. I think he was in that. But it's been a while since I've read those issues. But I know for sure he was on the cover of 21, so I'm guessing that means he was introduced at like towards the end of 20. So if I remember right, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But I think that's how it went. He was, one of those people that popped up at the end of an issue, and then the next issue he was on the cover, and then was involved maybe in the background of preceding issues. That's usually how it works when there's like a big villain that shows up on the cover of one issue, is that he was introduced in the issue previously at the very end of the issue. So I don't know, but I know who you're talking about, and I'd like to get to that old series at some point.
I do have a bunch of those issues. I don't actually have that. I'm looking at the cover. I don't actually have issue 21. I have a lot of the first issues. I have a lot of the stuff they did with the old timer. Mm-hmm. When Hal kind of coming back into the flow of being a Green Lantern. I do have a bunch in the. Well, I know I have the Third Law storyline with Entropy. Mm-hmm. In the 30s, because actually when I did my second Green Lantern screenplay, I kind of used that as my basis. I used that Entropy storyline. So I have a lot of issues from the 30s throughout, from backtracking towards the end of, obviously leading into Emerald Twilight, and obviously I have all the Kyle runs. So, but I don't have too many. I don't think I have that many issues in the 20s because I don't have that Star Sapphire arc. I do have the issue. Was it like 25 when Hal and Guy Gardner were duking it out for the ring? Was that 25?
I don't know. It might have been.
So I do have I have a bunch. So we could that's definitely something we could revisit, even if it's not every single, the whole volume, but certainly
Those,
a few storylines or here or there that it would be worth. It definitely would be worth. Yeah, it is 25. I'm just looking at the cover for 25. So.
Yep.
Cool.
Good stuff. Thanks again, Scott. We can always count on you, and hopefully some of you other guys will, catch on that we're doing these listener feedback things and start emailing us too. We really hope so. That way we don't have to search around too much on Facebook and Twitter to keep this segment going. So speaking of Twitter, shout out to Detroit Thor and Joseph, as well as Scott, for some tweets and retweets. Firestorm fan mentioned that on the latest Who's Who podcast that they discussed the Predator. So that was cool because they go through all the Who's Who issues. And some more retweets and stuff from Rainer2814 and Hollywood Dominic. Also, Jim Ford tweeted out, Lights Out 2 being developed by Green Lantern writers. This time, Relic is all about conserving electricity.
and then it'll be, give a hoot, don't pollute.
That's right. And then I tweeted out that our review of Lights Out was up, and Scott said, cool. Just waiting for it to show up on my iTunes feed. Can't wait. So obviously he took a listen to that. And this is a whole thing. Floto said, listening to Chad rant on episode 175, # all will be well. And Scott said there were a few rants on that episode to be sure. And then Dowd said that asked if it had shown up on his feed yet. And both Scott and Dowd were still waiting. It's up, guys. The Lights Out episode is up. There was some issue. I fixed it. You should be able to listen to it now. I'm sure they know that by now. By the time they hear this. Floto said, I'm sure when he catches up with his GL reading, he'll feel much better. Funny listening to a 7-month-old rant. Now, Floto, did you mean in terms of content, or my ranting was like that of a 7-month-old if he could talk?
or both.
Floto is always talking about Green Lantern on Twitter. We got new followers, by the way, of Flash TV Talk and Grey Wolf Games. So thanks, guys, for following us. But there were some people talking with Floto, and one of them asked if he could have a link to Floto's podcast, a Green Lantern podcast. And Floto says, it's not me. I only blog, but I push Blogavoa and LanternCast quite heavily because they're awesome. So thanks again, Floto, for being a pimp. I can't believe I just said that.
I can't.
You can't?
I can't.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. So I also pulled up the hashtag, the hashtag GLcast for Twitter. And I got somebody using it. Jesse, another one of our big followers, Jesse is using it. He said, rereading Lights Out before I listen to the next episode, as well as he says, listening to episode 176 regarding lanterns powering their own rings. Larfleeze can still do it. I have hope that it will continue. I'm not reading Larfleeze at the moment, so I don't know what he's referring to there, but since we do plan to be getting to Larfleeze, I'm sure we'll be coming back to that, Jesse. Do you know what he's referring to?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Do I? Yes, I think that has to. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, that it has to do with just the fact that he's had so much contact with the orange battery that he's essentially is like a living battery. So I think that could be simply the reason why he can power his own ring, unless he's referring to something else. But I know that was something that was a point in the the Revenge Revolt. I keep forgetting what that storyline is of the Orange Lanterns that they were going to kill him, and one of the things they realized, because I think at this point his battery was taken away from him, so they don't have they don't have any way to power their rings, and they were going to kill Larfleeze, and then they realized that pretty much they could charge their rings by using Larfleeze. So if they kill him, they're not going to be able to do that. So I think that might be what he's referring to. But yeah. But when you've been hoarding that battery for eons, when your power level's up to like 7,000%, I guess some of it kind of soaks into your cells.
All right. Well, thanks for the feedback, guys. And again, hopefully you guys start taking advantage of the email, LanternCast@gmail.com, and the voicemail 708-LANTERN. We have not gotten a voicemail in a good long while. I don't know if we've gotten one since we started the podcast. Just me and Mark.
Since we inherited it.
Yeah, since we inherited the podcast. Leave us some voicemails and don't forget the 3-minute time limit. How else can they get a hold of us, Mark?
Snail mail. Psychics. You can visit our website, LanternCast.com. You can access our forums. You can check out galleries, products of the week, and other things. You can follow us on Twitter. Use hashtag GLCast. Like us on Facebook. We are on iTunes and Stitcher. And if you like us on iTunes, please leave a positive review. Last but not least, if you'd like to leave us a voicemail, call us at 708-LANTERN. Because as you've just heard, we need voicemails. 708-LANTERN. And let us know what you think. And the email again, because I know Chad said it, but I'll say it again, is LanternCast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and don't forget to use the hashtag GLCast on Facebook and Twitter. As you heard with Jesse, we were doing that there. So that works. It works, people. And every now and then when I post something related to LanternCast on my Instagram feed, I use the hashtag GLCast. So although we don't have an Instagram account for the show, we do have one in the terms that, when I post something related to the show, I use GLCast. So there is that. Alrighty. Nice. So that's it, guys. I guess next episode we'll be talking about Red Lanterns. So prepare.
We're getting close to being caught up, people.
That's right.
At least we can see light at the end of the tunnel. No pun intended. At least we're at the point where maybe one more episode each for each title, and we'll be up to snuff. We're hoping anyway.
That's right. All right, folks. We'll talk to you next time.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
This is how you're going to entertain your little cousin and his friends? By lying to them?
How is this lying?
Well, magic show is an inherently deceitful proposition. This is an ordinary top hat. You've chosen that card freely. I do not have a set of lockpicks lodged in my keister.
Can't you just enjoy the wonder, Sheldon? Why must you peek behind the curtain or rub the butt?
If we poison the critical thinking faculties of children by telling them that rabbits come out of hats, then we create adults who believe in astrology and homeopathy and that Ryan Reynolds was a better choice for Green Lantern than lovable rogue Nathan Fillion.